Thank you very much. It's yours and honor to be here with y'all on America's Got Talent.
The world stood still on August 16, 1977, when the unimaginable became reality. Elvis Presley, the undisputed king of rock and roll, was pronounced dead. As the news broke, a wave of disbelief rippled across the globe. Outside the gates of Graceland, a sea of mourners gathered. Some wept openly, others collapsed in shock, and newspapers from Memphis to Madrid printed headlines that read like fiction. But as the initial grief settled, a darker cloud began to form, one filled with questions that refused to go away. From the start, something about Elvis's death felt off. And as more details emerged, those uneasy feelings only intensified. His funeral, a massive public event, drew thousands. But many of those who peered into his open casket left disturbed, whispering that the man inside didn't look quite right. His skin appeared too smooth, his features oddly altered. There was a lifeless perfection to him that felt almost manufactured. Then came the most unsettling rumor of all. That Elvis's casket had been reopened in secret. And what was discovered inside reportedly left even his closest family members speechless. Was the man buried beneath satin and steel truly Elvis Presley? Or had his final farewell been an elaborate illusion? The day began like any other at Graceland. But by morning's end, the mansion echoed with a silence so heavy, it seemed to swallow the air. Elvis had been found unresponsive in the bathroom by his fiancée, Ginger Alden, a moment she later described as surreal and haunting. Paramedics arrived quickly, sirens piercing the thick Tennessee air. But it was too late. The king was gone, dead at 42. The news spread like wildfire. Television broadcasts were interrupted, radios played nothing but Elvis hits, and the world stopped to mourn. Outside Graceland, chaos reigned as fans collapsed in tears. But even in the midst of global mourning, doubts began to swirl. Some witnesses claimed Elvis had been seen in good spirits just hours earlier. Others noted that the timeline between his collapse and the announcement of his death felt suspiciously fast. The cause of death was ruled a heart attack almost immediately, but whispers of drug involvement started to emerge, pointing to a narrative far more complicated. Adding to the suspicion, the embalming process was rushed, unusually so, leading many to believe there was something to hide. Behind Graceland's gates, the Presley family struggled to maintain composure. But rumors of heated disagreements and confusion among those closest to Elvis began to circulate. Was it grief, or fear of what might come to light? By August 17, Graceland had become a fortress of sorrow. Crowds surged outside, desperate for one final glimpse of the man who changed music forever. Elvis's father, Vernon Presley, aged seemingly overnight, made the emotional decision to allow an open casket viewing inside the mansion. The casket was placed in the grand foyer beneath the stained glass archways. Security was tight. Slowly, mourners filed in. But what they saw only deepened the mystery. Elvis lay dressed in a crisp white suit, hands gently folded, his hair immaculately styled. Yet, something was undeniably wrong. His skin looked waxy, almost synthetic. His facial features appeared sharper, his face slimmer, younger. Fans who had followed him for decades insisted, that wasn't the Elvis they knew. His hands, so familiar from countless performances, looked swollen and unnatural. Whispers filled the room. Was this truly the king? Or something else? Outside, the media frenzy escalated. Cameras flashed, reporters hunted for quotes, and among the heartbreak were quiet admissions from fans who had their doubts. The funeral procession the next day wound solemnly through Memphis, drawing tears and tributes. But for many, the spectacle did little to quiet the gnawing sense that something was being hidden. Why had the body looked so artificial? Why had the embalming been rushed? Why did those closest to Elvis seem evasive? The doubts didn't fade, they grew. And the moment the casket was lowered into the ground at Forest Hill Cemetery, it didn't feel like closure. It felt like the beginning of a much bigger mystery. In the days following the funeral, rumors of a secret, post-burial reopening of the casket began to circulate. Some claimed it was a procedural step, that the embalming had to be adjusted. Others believed Vernon Presley wanted to see his son one last time. But the most bizarre theory was also the most chilling, that someone suspected it wasn't Elvis in the casket to begin with. Whispers from Graceland described late-night gatherings of funeral staff and family, all centered around the casket. According to these unconfirmed accounts, what they found during that private viewing deeply disturbed them. The body, they claimed, didn't just look different, it looked wrong. The skin tone had changed, becoming more plastic-like. The hair and features seemed less natural, more mannequin than man. And those who had seen the body more than once noted a subtle shift in its appearance, as if they weren't looking at the same corpse. Vernon's behavior during these days only added to the mystery. He oscillated between grief and paranoia, demanding secrecy and pushing away inquiries. When asked years later, family members offered vague, often contradictory responses. Some denied any second viewing occurred. Others admitted there were adjustments. But adjustments to what? This clandestine reopening of the casket became the centerpiece of decades of conspiracy theories. Many now believe that Elvis's final appearance wasn't about saying goodbye, it was about selling a story the public was never meant to question. Among all the theories, one has endured more than any other, that the body seen inside the casket was not Elvis Presley at all, but a wax replica. This idea took root quickly, as fans began comparing the casket figure to the real man. Some theorized that the Presley family, reluctant to let the world see what years of decline had done to Elvis, had chosen to preserve his image with a dummy. This idea gained further traction when morticians gave conflicting accounts. Some said the embalming was rushed due to the southern heat. Others insisted they never saw the body at all. The inconsistency added fuel to an already growing fire. And then came the most outrageous claim of all, that Elvis wasn't dead at all. That the wax figure had been a decoy, part of an elaborate plan for the king to escape the spotlight forever. Thus was born the Elvis Lives movement. Though dismissed by many as fantasy, the theory has persisted for decades, bolstered by photographs, eyewitness accounts, and the eerie sense that something never quite added up. For those who believe, the wax dummy isn't just speculation, it's evidence of a truth too explosive to be revealed. And if the body in the casket left fans uneasy, the official paperwork only made things murkier. The autopsy was expected to end the speculation. Instead, it ignited more. Initially, Elvis was said to have died of a heart condition, cardiac arrhythmia. But as time passed, toxicology reports painted a more troubling picture. A cocktail of prescription drugs, sedatives, opioids, barbiturates, was found in his system in dangerous amounts.